McFatter Technical High School students and parents. It is Thursday, August 12th, and we are coming to you with the first recorded set of updates of the 2021-2022 school year. I am Jeanette Johnson, your director and principal here at McFatter Technical College and Technical High School. And for those of you who were with us last year, you also recognize the two faces joining me as they join me typically for every one of these videos. We have our assistant director in charge of the high school, Mr. Daryl Harris.
Hello there.
And our magnet coordinator, Miss Lily DeCastro.
Hi.
Hello to you too. Can you believe it? The summer is over and here we are, ready for the school year. Time has flown by. We are so excited to be able to greet our students next week. School does start on Wednesday, the 18th. First period begins at 9:15. So we hope to see you then. We're going to go through a lot of information today, back to school information. So we hope you will understand that this video may wind up being a long one because we have a lot of information to cover. We want to be sure everyone understands what to expect next week when school begins. So we also want to be sure that we try to answer as many questions as we can, questions we've gotten from people. And we'll start with one of the biggest that some of our parents or students still have, which is there a remote option this year? And the answer to that is no, not if you wish to remain at McFatter Technical High School. You can withdraw from McFatter and enroll at Broward Virtual or Florida Virtual, but all Florida public schools are operating fully face-to-face for the start of the 2021 school year. So we do hope to see all roughly 600 of you here next Wednesday, starting at 9:15. So we wanted to clear that up. I also wanted to start with a lot of information around some of the protocols that will be in place and all of the things that both we as a school and the district in general are doing to help keep people safe, because of course we know we are still in the middle of a pandemic. So I'm going to go through a number of those things, and I'm going to invite Mr. Harris or Ms. DeCastro to pipe in as well if you think something I say needs clarification or if I missed something. We've tried to be thorough in talking through what we needed to go through, but it's always possible we'll miss something. The first thing you need to know is what to expect here on campus. The school board has passed a policy that masks covering both the nose and the mouth are mandatory for everyone on our campus, all students, all staff, all visitors, all volunteers. So students will need to bring and wear a mask. The only times you can take your mask off when you are on a school board property are if you are eating or if you are outdoors and at least 3 feet away from anyone else, or if you are indoors in a room by yourself. But if you're in a room with someone else, even if you're distanced, you need to have your mask on. If you're outdoors and you're less than 3 feet away from people, you need to have your mask on. On the subject of you can take your mask off if you're outdoors and you're within 3 feet, you're at least 3 feet away from people. There is one exception to that where you still have to keep your mask on, and that's during change of classes. Because there is so much movement going on in change of classes, all students have to keep their masks on during class change, even if they're outside. So that's an important thing for people to know. Students should bring their own masks, particularly if you're riding a school bus, you will have to wear your mask on the bus as well. But we will have spares here as needed for students who may lose them or forget them, that sort of thing. I mentioned the 3 feet. It is highly recommended that 3 feet distance be maintained at all times. We have been working all summer to make sure that the configurations of our classrooms allow for 3 feet between students. And certainly at lunchtime and so forth, students need to help us by maintaining that distance. Last year, it was 6 feet, and I used to go around like this for people because this is close to 6 feet. The good judge this year is an arm's length. So if students aren't sure if they're 3 feet away from people, basically if you stretch out your arm and you can touch them, you probably need to back up, okay? There is also, as there was last year, a health checklist that we're asking every individual to kind of ask themselves before they come on campus. And I'm going to, if I can do this properly, throw this up on the screen real quickly so people can see it. It is this daily health screening. Mr. Harris, Ms. DeCastro, it's up there, right?
Yes, we can see it.
So every student or a parent who's planning on coming to campus is requested to ask themselves these questions at home every morning prior to coming to school, prior to getting on a school bus. I'll pause for a minute and let people read those. If the answer to any of those questions is yes, you should not come to a Broward Schools campus. Okay, obviously the first several items are related to any symptoms you might have. Then it moves into items around whether anyone in your home or anyone you've been in close contact with has tested positive for COVID, whether you have tested positive for COVID, whether you are awaiting test results for COVID, or whether you've been told to self-quarantine. Again, if the answer to any of these questions is yes, students and other individuals should remain at home. We want to be sure that people know what the definition of close contact is. Close contact is that you are within 6 feet of someone who is positive for COVID for at least 15 minutes over a 24-hour period. It doesn't have to be 15 minutes consecutively. It could be 5 minutes, then another 5 minutes an hour later, and then another 5 minutes an hour after that. But if you're within 6 feet of somebody for at least 15 minutes over 24 hours, and that somebody is COVID, has tested positive for COVID, you are considered to be a close contact and you will need to self-quarantine, okay? Now, on that subject, we also want to be sure that our families know that we need you to let us know if a student or somebody the student is a close contact with has either tested positive for COVID or is a close contact. We request that you contact the school. We can walk you through the protocols at that point of what you need to do in terms of how many days you might have to stay out in quarantine, but it starts with you notifying us. Okay, so you would contact the school and then an administrator. With the high school, it's usually going to be Mr. Harris. Sometimes it'll be me or one of the other APs. We will reach out to the family and get the information we need to complete the reporting to the district, as well as to provide you with any questions that you might have. So please make sure you are contacting us if a student or someone the student is a close contact with does wind up testing positive for quarantine. For COVID. We also wanted to let you know sanitizing protocols. We are very pleased with the fact that although individuals associated with our school have tested positive for COVID over the last, 15 months, we have no indication that any of those cases were contracted here on campus. We do contact tracing whenever there is a case. One of the reasons we don't think there have been cases contracted on campus is because of the protocols, the distancing, the mask wearing, the sanitizing. There is hand sanitizer available everywhere on this campus, including in every single classroom and common area. Classrooms are cleaned thoroughly every evening. They are sanitized with a sanitizing school board approved sanitizing disinfectant every evening, and an outside professional company also comes in twice a week in the evenings and sanitizes every occupied space. I think the other thing we wanted to be sure that you all knew is, so what happens if the school does get a COVID case? How do we keep you all informed? So we want to be sure you know what will happen. If we get a COVID case affiliated with the high school, and I mention that because, for example, we run the Broward Fire Academy, which is at a different location, and those individuals never interact with the high school, so it doesn't involve high school students or families at all. And what I'm about to say wouldn't be true if we had a case, let's say, at the Fire Academy. But if we do have a confirmed COVID case here on campus, here's what we do. Several things. First, we reach out to the family of the individual who's confirmed, and we walk them through their quarantine protocols, make sure they're in good shape, knowing what they need to know. Second, we contact trace and we identify anyone that individual may have been in close contact with for the prior 48 hours. Any close contacts that we identify will get a personal phone call from either Mr. Harris or me to the family, notifying you that you have been in close contact with somebody who has tested positive for COVID. We're not allowed to tell you who that person is. We have to protect their personal medical information, but we can give you that information. So if you hear that there was a COVID case on campus and you didn't get a phone call, you're welcome to call us and ask questions, but just know that if you didn't get a phone call from Mr. Harris or me, it means that your son or daughter was not considered a close contact to the particular case. The other thing that happens is I make a parent link phone call to all parents of the high school, letting them know a case occurred. So you will get that. Everyone will get that if there is a confirmed case associated with the high school. People who will get a personal phone call from Mr. Harris or me would only be those individuals who were close contacts of the COVID positive cases. Mr. Harris and Mr. Castro, did I miss anything that we said we wanted to be sure we covered or that people often ask about?
I'd like to say one thing in reference to the part that Ms. Johnson mentioned about notifying the general notification through Parent Link. If for some reason you hear from someone else that there was a case on campus and you were not notified, that probably means we do not have your correct contact information. So please reach out to us and let us know so we can have the most updated information in the system so you will know.
I'm glad you mentioned that. It actually could mean two things. It could mean what you just said, we don't have the proper information on Parent Link, or it can mean the person who has the COVID case didn't tell the school. So in either case, notifying us if you hear through the grapevine, but you didn't get that Parent Link call, allows us to get to the bottom of it. Maybe the family just forgot, didn't realize they needed to notify us. So in either case, contacting the school would be helpful. Okay.
And
I also wanted to.
The other thing was, if a student does need to be out because they've been exposed to someone or they don't feel well, please remember to call in attendance to the school. In those cases as well, the number 754-321-5702, or go to our high school webpage and report an absence. And that's, for a student who's going to be out not feeling well.
And again, I'm glad you mentioned that. So if a student has to be out, either because they have COVID or they're close contact, as Mr. Castro just said, if they're going to be out because they don't feel well, report their absence. But let's say they're out, they feel perfectly fine, but they have to be out either because they're a close contact or maybe they tested positive for COVID, but again, they feel fine. There is a mechanism in place where the student can be counted present, even though they're in quarantine, as long as they are doing their schoolwork, which we would facilitate as a school, getting that information, as well as any teacher assistance the student might need, getting that to the family so that the student wouldn't fall behind in their coursework. Again, this is assuming they're not ill and they feel well enough to do the work. So again, the biggest thing to know is call the school and we can walk you through everything. We also wanted to mention, because we've gotten some questions, well, what happens if somebody comes to school who they might have COVID because they're exhibiting symptoms? So we wanted to let you know, our school has always had a clinic with a nurse. Since returning to campuses physically last spring and continuing this year, we now have an additional feature. We have a second nurse and we have a second clinic area that serves as an isolation room. So if anyone does come to school exhibiting symptoms that are consistent with COVID, they will be escorted to the isolation room for the nurse to assess them. The nurse will reach out to the parent or guardian and let them know what's going on. They will have conversation between the nurse and the parent or guardian to discuss, based on that particular student's individual situation, to discuss, maybe the parent will reveal that the student has been vaccinated, or the parent will reveal information that allows the nurse to advise the parent whether or not the child should get tested for COVID, whether or not they need to go into quarantine. But we did want to let families know that that is the process. So you don't need to be worried that if somebody else comes to school sick, we wanted you to know how that might happen, how that would happen. So we have that process in place as well. Of course, if there's anything COVID related that you are concerned about that we didn't just address, please feel free to reach out to any of the three of us. Our first priority is guaranteeing the health and safety of every single individual on our campus. We have to do that first before we get to the second priority, which is educating them with a top quality education. So please just know, as we have done prior to COVID and then ramped it up once this pandemic began, we do everything within our power to make sure that the health and safety of all of our students, staff, visitors, that everyone is taken care of. So please, if you have any questions or concerns, don't hesitate to reach out to any of the three of us on that. Okay. So with that said, let's move on to a few more things that are a little more typical of back to school when you're going back to school, not in a pandemic. And let's start with schedules. Students want to know, what are my classes and when will each class be? So Mr. Castro, let me turn that over to you.
Okay, so on August 18th at 9:15, students will report to class. Ms. Johnson said that already, but I wanted to bring it back up. If you are to look on your virtual counselor account that can be accessed through single sign-on, students new to Broward County Public Schools may not be familiar with that process. You can reach out to the school counselor for that. A ninth grader would message Dominque.Joseph, spelled DOMINQUE.JOSEPH at BrowardSchools.com. A 10th grader, Veronica.Crichlow, spelled VERONICA.CRICHLOW at BrowardSchools.com. An 11th grade, Deborah.Bluth, so DEBORAH.BLUTH at BrowardSchools.com. And a senior, Tamika.Fussell, TAMIKA.FUSSELL at BrowardSchools.com. That was a little harder than I expected, but I thought you guys might all need that with the 2 new counselors on campus. So you will reach out to the counselor if you cannot get into single sign-on to access your virtual counselor account. Schedules are still changing. I am in the process of balancing a few classes. So they are not finalized, but they are on there. A couple of days ago, they went live. And also for students, returning students who know how to use Focus, you can find them there as well. And that just shows the fall schedule. It does not show the spring schedule. So if you don't see math on there, don't panic. It might be in the spring. But I would check the schedule on the 17th. That's when it's going to be the most accurate. And on the 17th, I will be printing hard copies of the schedules, and we will distribute them at the middle of the campus, across from the cafeteria or the medical building in that area, because that way people who come in on the bus or come in from a car can get access to a paper copy of the schedule. The paper copy is going to be the most accurate version of that fall schedule as well. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. I think you got it. Okay, so they want to know what's going on related to COVID. How do I know what my classes are? How do I get to and from school? So we've got some bus information for those students who will be taking the bus. And again, I asked Ms. DeCastro to review that information.
Okay, so same place, virtual counselor. They are not mailing out bus cards this year. They are sending it out through virtual counselor. There's a tab that says schedule, and there's the background does weird things with my hand. A tab for schedule and a tab for bus information. If you log on there, as several parents have, and find that the bus is really far from your home, please email the counselor, because that means our address on file for you is not correct. We have found that many of the former schools, because we have students who are new to us in varying grades, have not updated the system. So it's operating off of what the July 1st data pool was. So please let us know. It can take up to 2 weeks to fix, but right now they're running daily updates, so it should be faster for the next couple of days. We just need you to bear with us. And returning students, if you moved and you didn't tell us, we wouldn't know. So please notify your counselor of your new address. If it has changed, they will require 2 proofs, but they can send you that detail, and we will get that done as quickly as possible. Counselors are your best bet for these changes and updates.
And then can you explain for our new families, particularly how buses run in the afternoon, because it's different than from what they're used to. In the morning, they'll get what they call a neighborhood bus, but things work a little differently in the afternoon, and we want all the families to be aware of that.
Okay, so in the afternoons, all of our students who ride a school bus will go to the east end of campus. So it's away from the high school building, and they will get on what we call a shuttle bus. And the shuttle bus takes them to Nova High School. When they get to Nova, there's staff there, there are boards, there's a lot of help for our students, so no need to worry. And they will locate their bus, the exact bus number route that was on their virtual counselor bus pass. Once they get on that bus, they will wait until everybody is on the bus before the buses pull out. So it will be a little bit longer than you expect for the first week or 2. And they will take the students home. So 2 pieces of advice. 1, make sure that the student has a picture of their bus information on their cell phones or a piece of paper with it, or 5 pieces of paper, whatever it takes for your family. Because the biggest panic for our kids is they get to Nova and they don't know what bus to get on. So have one on your phone. I found that helpful for parents for years, for them to have that information as well. The second thing is they will get home later than expected. Remind them to put their cell phones on so that you can at least text them on the bus to confirm where they are and how's it coming along. So just be patient. Don't panic. If it's 6 o'clock the first day, it can happen. We would rather they get home late than somebody gets left behind.
Right.
So that's part of the reason for the delay. And as the routes work out, be at the school bus stop in the morning 15 minutes before the anticipated time, because they're going to start adjusting times based on how things really roll. They have estimates for now, and they will tell your students, we're no longer coming at 8:02, which is rare for us. They will now come, at 8:32. Not really, but they will do big changes of time, and they will tell your student about the change. They don't call homes about that. They don't even tell us. So.
Yeah, I think that warning is really good. The biggest thing for parents to realize is it's going to be confusing the first couple of weeks. Buses they will arrive at stops late in the morning, so they'll get late to school. They will be later getting home than you're accustomed to, but just stay patient. It usually all gets worked out within the first couple of weeks. If you have a problem with a bus that drags on more than a couple of weeks, the bus is not coming at the appropriate time in the morning, it's constantly getting to school late, they're getting home too late. At that point, definitely let us know, but do be patient that first week or two. It's always a little crazy, and then it sorts itself out. I also wanted to mention buses are considered school board property, so masks must be worn while students are on the bus at all times as well. Okay. And you mentioned the buses for us are on the east side. That also made me remember that we want to tell parents, if you are driving your child to school, the parent drop off and pickup is on the west end of campus. So it's an opposite side from the buses. The buses are on the east end. The parent drop off and pickup is on the west end. Our student parking lot for our students who will drive is also on the west end. Okay. So what's going on related to COVID? How do I find out what my classes are? How do I get to school? The next thing comes, once I'm at school, how do I eat? So Mr. Harris, could you tell us a little bit about breakfast and lunch and how that works here?
Okay, well, I'm not going to say eating the most important favorite part of my day, but it is important. It's fuel for the body and stuff to help us think and process what we'll learn for the day. So speaking of that, we breakfast and lunch, we provide those for our students, and we provide, the county is providing free breakfast and lunch to all students, free breakfast and lunch. One thing I do want the parents to do, to go online on the Broward Schools website and at least apply for free, and they call it free reduced lunch, but apply for that even if you right now don't think you need it, but apply for it anyway, because there are many advantages and other for students and benefits for students that are qualified for free or reduced lunch, although everyone will receive it on campus. Now we will receive a grab and go. Students will receive a grab and go breakfast in the morning in the central part of the campus, and we'll notify students of that location on their first day of school just to remind them. And also a hot lunch will be provided daily to the students. So please take advantage of that opportunity. But in addition to those free and reduced lunch, we do have a few other lunch outlets for our students. We have an area right next to where the free and lunch is distributed, area where students can buy pizza and other items that's available there. We have a cafe that provides burgers, fries, grilled cheese sandwiches, salads, other items and desserts for our students. And we have another full line cafeteria area where there's a larger assortment of, kind of complete meals for our students to receive as well. So one thing you will see, there are lots of opportunities for delicious food for our students and our staff to eat, but do take advantage of it. But just so parents know, and I know kids, they'll say, oh, Mom, I need money for food today. We do have free lunch for all students and breakfast. So take advantage of that if it applies to you. So that's what I want to just highlight as far as our meals are concerned.
We always like to make sure, I appreciate that you mentioned the non-free items, and we always like to make sure parents and students understand why there are other options that aren't free and that may cost a little bit more than a typical school lunch. And like Mr. Harris mentioned, the pizza line, the sandwiches, the salads, the complete meal line, where that's food that's prepared by our culinary arts students, those are still pretty reasonably priced.
Yes.
A couple of dollars, but they're not free, and they don't. If you're accustomed to being able to have the school food account, they don't operate on the account, and that's because those food outlets are not run by district food service. They are an outreach of our culinary arts program. The culinary arts program, unlike the district school food service program, is not subsidized by federal dollars. And so we have to charge a little bit more than you're accustomed to. We're not making a profit off it. We're just trying to recoup the cost of the ingredients. But that is why it tends to be more expensive than the free or reduced lunches that historically are offered by the school system.
And with that being said, being that there's so many options for our students, when parents understand there are no food deliveries to the campus. So although Chipotle may be your child's favorite meal for lunch every day, no meals can be delivered to the campus, because all the students that are visitors that come on campus, they will be stopped by security just to check to make sure to keep our campus safe. And if you say you're delivering a lunch to your child, they will ask you to turn around. You cannot bring meals on the campus.
And to be clear, you're not just saying that parents can't bring meals. That means Uber Eats, DoorDash, those entities will be turned away at the security gate, and the students will be out the money because those delivery services will be turned away. So there's plenty to eat here, and we are legendary for our fries, our patty melts, and our what we call our gourmet line, the culinary line. So there's plenty to eat to serve all tastes and desires. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Let's also talk briefly about a few other things that happen on campus, particularly around, I know you wanted to talk, Mr. Harris, about ID badges, how that will work, as well as laptops in case students continue to need a laptop at home. If you could address those items.
So the ID badges, I know our incoming ninth graders will not have ID badges from McFatter, although the other students will, but we will issue new ID badges to all of our students, and that will take place during the first week of school. You will have a new ID badge, and the ID badges this year will have a barcode on them, and that was help facilitate for the free and reduced lunch that we provide to all of our students. And in addition to having the ID badge, you need to keep it on you every day on campus. And although we're a small school, 600 students, we get to know all of our students very well. But, just in case, we want to make sure that you keep your ID at all times, even for an emergency or anything that may happen, keep your ID on you, okay? And hopefully above your waist so it is visible that people can see it. And like I have my ID badge on, we'll provide a free lanyard to every student that wants one to make sure they can attach their ID badge to it. And that's just what I want to mention. Anything else about ID badges that need to address?
Not related to ID badges, but I thought of one other thing that Mr. Rothman usually talks about at new student orientation. It's not ID badge related, but we also wanted to mention for parents who are coming to campus, we've talked about that security gate. They stop any car they don't know and or any car that doesn't have a McFatter hang tag. One of the services we offer to our families, because some of our parents come here every day because they drop off their child every day. They drop them off and pick them up, or they come here frequently. We offer for parents both a parent parking pass, if you want the ability to already be here and park frequently, or a drop-off pickup pass, if you just know that you need that, and you can get one for every car. And that's a way to assure that you will get waved through the security gate much more quickly if you have one of those. If you're interested in that, first time you come on campus and you stop at the gate, ask the gentlemen who work at the gate and they can provide you with one. So not technically ID badges, but what you were talking about made me think of that.
A very good point. Mr. Cash, were you going to say something?
I wanted to remind everybody that when we say the first week of school, technically up until the 25th, 24th is a part of the first week of school. People panic when we get to week 2 and it's day 4. When you start on a Wednesday, I just want to ask for a little grace on that. To remember, we start on a Wednesday, not a Monday. So
thank you.
A couple more days.
And the second thing that I want to just highlight are laptops and technology needs for our students. And first of all, I would like to say thank you to all the parents and students that returned all the laptops that we issued out to them this past year in our remote learning environment. We have most of the laptops back, but we do need all of them back. And the reason being is that some students may need a laptop for this school year for personal reasons for schoolwork, but to take home with them. If you need a laptop, when you reach out to your counselor and they will facilitate getting you a laptop. Probably within the first couple of days of school, you'll have one to take home. But Ms. DeCastro have already listed the counselors by grade level, but do that as soon as you can. If you know there's a need, do it the first day so we can work on that, getting you a laptop that you can have to sign on. We'll make sure the property pass and all the information is taken care of, but you'll have what you need to make sure you can facilitate learning at home if you need that.
And I'd like to clarify, here's what we mean about determining whether or not you need one, because some of you may be thinking, why do I need a laptop if the learning is face-to-face? And it is true that we're returning to face-to-face instruction. But here's the thing. One of the things that many of our students and staff have learned over the last 15 months is, well, everyone has become more familiar with using technology in a school-based environment. So I think what you will find, even returning to a face-to-face instructional model, you're going to see a lot more usage of technology by the teachers than you may have been accustomed to pre-COVID. And in some cases, that may lead into a need for students to access technology at home for homework. I know all of our teachers are going to maintain all of their coursework still in Canvas so that students who are absent can still access it. So what we want you to do is get into school, get to see how your teachers are going to run their classes. And if you've got a teacher or teachers who are going to run their classes in such a way that it requires the use of technology outside of school, obviously, if you have your own computer or own laptop at home, you can continue to use that. But if you don't, we want to make sure that you don't fall behind. And so laptops will be available should we have students who still need them. We won't be doing the mass pickup like we did in the past because there won't be as many students who need it because we are now face-to-face. But absolutely, anyone who needs one can get one. Just let us know.
Thank you.
And parents do have to sign the property passes.
Yeah.
So that's why it might take a few days because we have to go get the parents' property passes set up as well.
So we talked about getting to know what your teachers will expect of you to determine whether you think you'll need a laptop at home. Now let's talk about how the parents can learn what the teachers expect of their students. And that leads us to open house. We have a date and time. And so Ms. DeCastro, if you would explain that item.
So our open house, which we also call Parent Back to School Night, is going to be held on September 24th at 6 p.m. and it'll be an opportunity to go class by class. So you want to be on time because we're going to have specific time slots for each class to see what the teachers expect. It is not a day to come in and say, you know, hi, how's Lily doing in my class? But it is a day to get general information because it's very short spurts of time in that room to learn about the syllabus, the expectations, how homework is assigned, you know, any special equipment you would need for the class.
And
You said September 24th. Did you
Oh,
mean?
I apologize. It is August 24th. Thank you.
I was looking at my calendar going, wait, do I have it wrong?
No, on my note, I did put a 9 that I converted to an 8. You know, time is just going so quickly. So 12 days from now, depending on when you watch it, it is not September. It is in August.
And I would like to add one thing to that, Mr. Castro. Parents, and we always have a lot of parents that come out. They're amazed with the campus and the opportunities that we provide for your students. Could I just please say wear comfortable shoes? And because a lot of the parents, oh my God, I didn't realize I had to do this much walking or I have to get from one place to another. Our kids have to move pretty fast from one class to the next. So just wear comfortable shoes so you can have an enjoyable experience.
And we are, because of COVID, we are tweaking it a little bit in terms of how we're doing it. Typically, we start with a whole group session in our gymnasium. We're not doing that this year. We're going to ask parents, they're going to begin by going directly to their child's first period class. In that room, there will be a televised opening that we will be conducting via Teams, giving kind of the broad overview, and then you'll be able to follow your child's schedule for the rest of the day. And then at the end of the event, we will have an open Q&A area available on campus for people who have questions that haven't yet been answered. So for those of our parents who've been with us for a number of years, just know you're not going to start in the ARC. You'll start directly in your son or daughter's first period class. Keep in mind, again, Broward County property, Broward County event, everyone attending, parents, if you bring younger children, anyone over the age of 2 must be wearing a mask at all times while on the property. And I think we have covered it all. I have no idea how long this one is. We apologize for such a long one, but we had a lot of ground to cover. Right? We covered everything?
I believe so.
Okay. We also wanted to make sure people knew that our intention this year for these videos is to publish a standing one a month, and they're going to be released the first Thursday of every month. So since we're near the end of August, or the middle of August now, the next one will come out on September 2nd. So we're definitely going to release a video like this on the first Thursday of every month, giving you updates. And we will add additional ones and put out information on our social media if something comes up that we think needs to be information disseminated more quickly than that. But in terms of, we know last year we got a little bit of a following, and some people got used to watching these. We were glad they were helpful. Just know that this year our intention is once a month standing, and more frequently just when individual items may come up that we're getting questions about, right?
So if you don't want to miss any in between ones, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. And otherwise, either way, it will be on our social media. So find what works best for you to stay in contact with getting information. I do put a weekly email out on our high school page. And so the link would always be there as well, but it doesn't notify you they get posted. You have to go and see that yourself. So.
Perfect.
Thank you, guys.
So with that said, we will see all of our students next Wednesday, a week from yesterday, no later than 9:15, we hope, so that you are on time to your first period class. We are excited. I don't think any of us thought we'd be starting the school year quite this way, but it's going to be great to have all the students with us. We're very excited to have you here, and very attuned to making sure we're doing everything we can to make sure that you have a safe, healthy, productive, and enjoyable school year with us. So we will see you all on Wednesday the 18th. You will see another one of these videos on September 2nd. In the meantime, again, if you have any questions or comments or concerns, feel free to reach out to any of us and or to your son or daughter's counselor. We are here to serve you and make this an enjoyable experience. For our new families, welcome to the McFatter family. For our returning families, we're glad to get to see you again. Everyone take care, and we will be back with another one of these in a couple of weeks. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.